Hello, good crowd. I am so excited to introduce you today to Dr. Scott Leckman. He's a surgeon and activist. He's the chair of the Citizens Climate Education and really one of the world's great human beings. And you do not want to miss this episode. Stick around.
Welcome to the Your Mark on the World show with your champion of social good, Devin D. Thorpe.
Our sponsor, Johnson & Johnson, matches most individual donations up to $250 at caringcrowd.org. Scott, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Devin.
Well, it's great to have you here. There is so much that we can talk about. I'm going to try and keep this to 20 minutes, but I could talk to you for 7 hours. But
Let's not.
I did have the recent privilege and opportunity of serving kind of as your right hand when you served as the district governor for the state of Utah Rotary, which was a huge job. Just tell everybody a little bit about your experience leading Utah Rotarians.
Well, actually, Devin, you were my right hand and left hand and brain.
No.
Rotary is a international service club, and it's been around for more than 100 years, and we do community service. Our slogan is service above self, and we're in every country and geographic location in the world. So it's a wonderful organization with a worldwide reach. And so I got to serve Rotarians in the state of Utah, helping them, strengthen their clubs. And so I got to do that 1 year. They had to train me for 3 years for 1 year of work, remedial work. But it was just one of the most special years of my life. I got to meet so many great people here in Utah and around the world, and Rotarians are just I love them because they're willing to tackle some of the biggest problems that humanity faces. So it was a great year. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. Well, and Rotary has, perhaps drawing on your medical expertise, you've been particularly involved over many years in the fight to end polio, which is a big Rotary initiative. You've taken groups of largely Rotarians, but groups of people to India to do polio immunizations, I think 8 times now. Tell us a little bit about your experiences doing that.
Well, it would be wonderful for me to talk about that. So polio is not really on most people's radar screens. We had our last case of polio in the U.S. back in the late 1970s. But when I was born, it was parents' greatest horror. Their greatest fear was having one of their children contract polio. And so people my age and older know people affected. And younger people may know people, but just don't realize what it was that gave them that disability. In 1985, Rotary was the first group to make polio eradication a goal, which I think, again, most people aren't aware of. It took us 3 years to convince the World Health Organization to join us. And since that time, we've gotten other partners like UNICEF and the CDC. And most recently, the Gates Foundation has been a huge help. And of course, without these partners and the help of all the governments of the world, we wouldn't be close. But we made incredible progress. And in 1988, we had 1,000 kids being paralyzed a day in 125 countries. 1985 was not, or 1988 was not that long ago. And now we're just down to 2 endemic countries, Pakistan and Afghanistan. So India, I started taking groups of folks over there in 2009. I've taken 8 groups since. And we get to join with Indian Rotarians in immunizing their kids. And I think what most Americans don't realize is that we still immunize our children against polio. And it's because a threat anywhere is a threat everywhere. So we're going to have to, immunize every kid until this disease is gone.
Well, it's amazing work for which you can take a lot of the credit in this effort. At the same time, you've been involved in all kinds of other things, and I would like to talk about all of them, but I'm going to mention a few. You have been involved in organizing the provision of charitable health care in Salt Lake City to take care of uninsured people, and you've been recognized for that work. Millions and millions of dollars of free health care been provided because of your efforts to organize it. You have served with Mohammed Yunus on the board of Results, doing amazing work there with Sam Daley-Harris, and now you are the chair. And let's talk about this a little bit. You are the chairman of the board of Citizens Climate Education. Tell us a little bit about that organization and your work there.
Okay. This is an amazing, very unique organization. Our concern is climate change. And the founder, Marshall Saunders, back in 2006, 2007, he was a results volunteer with me. That's how I got to know him. And he went and saw Al Gore's movie and was so moved by it. I think he saw it 3 or 4 times in a week, and got the training, was one of the first 1,000 people that got training, went out, told people what the problem is, and people would ask him, well, what should we do? And he wasn't empowered by telling people to change their light bulbs. So one evening he told a group, well, what we need is an organization like Results but on climate. And so the person in the audience, an elderly woman, said, well, why don't you do that? And so that's what he did. So he started, and now we've got 500 chapters throughout the U.S. and the world. Last year, we had over 1,400 lobby meetings with congressional offices. We had 1,300 people show up in Washington during our conference last June. We write letters to the editor, op-eds, editorials. So we're getting the word out. And the thing that's unique about us is that we're focused. And when we approach our members of Congress, we approach them with respect. We seek relationships based on shared values. We want relationships based on integrity. And so it's we're even people that don't agree with us, they love to talk to us. We go in and we find out, where are you at on climate? What does the member think? And when we meet with the member, why did you run for Congress? And so we find out where they're at, And what we're pushing is a carbon fee with a dividend. So we want to increase the price of carbon and give that extra money that's raised back to households. And so it'll fix the failure of the market, because right now it's free to pollute. And so we want to make it harder to pollute. And so raising the price of carbon will make other energy sources more attractive and will have a huge impact. Now, the other thing I love is that we're criticized by both those on the extreme left and the extreme right. So I think we're going to be where Republicans and Democrats can come together and institute a solution. So I love the organization. We're all about optimism for the future, and we're about getting things done. So I'm just privileged to be associated with it. Now, I'm the chairman of the board of Citizens Climate Education, which is a 501c3 organization that's associated with Citizens Climate Lobby, which is a 501c4 organization. So most people know us by Citizens Climate Lobby.
And the Citizens Climate Lobby has of course, its own board. You aren't the chair of both, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
No one could handle that.
Well, Scott, as you look back over all the things you've done, fighting polio, fighting climate change, fighting poverty with results, fighting, for improved health care here in Utah, what are you most proud of having accomplished?
Wow. Well, that should be an easy one. I'm just kind of a helper bee. I really kind of the Forrest Gump of, I just happen to be in some good places, and I'm willing to be out there. I'm willing to raise my hand and say, yeah, I'll do that. It's, it would be hard to be any different. If you get, optimism is so important. Hanging out with cynical people, you're not going to get anything done. Things don't get better without activists, and activists are optimistic. You have to realize that you can change things. We don't have to settle for the way things are. Now, of course, in many ways, they're better than ever. But we're not happy with that. We want things, we want to make good on our promises. And we still have a long ways to go. Alex Steffen he's a author and futurist, and he has a great quotation. He says, "Optimism is a political act. Those who benefit from the status quo are perfectly happy for us to keep thinking that things aren't going to get any better. In fact, these days, cynicism is obedience."
Interesting. Scott, where does all of your motivation for doing good come from? What's that kernel that has driven you to do so much good in the world?
I just tried my best to be kind. Life is tough for everybody. I don't think anybody has it easy. And if you think somebody has it easy, you don't know what their life's like. It isn't. It's hard. And I think our purpose here is just to help people get through this. And it's not hard. I mean, nothing I don't tell my patients, but some things are harder than others, but it's easy to be kind. And when you have the experience that you can make the world a little bit better, you don't forget that. In fact, the scariest thing is knowing, that the world depends on you. People around you depend on you. You could always find that starship, starfish that needs to be thrown back in the ocean. So, and if you can do that and more, all the power to you.
Yeah. Scott, what is your superpower?
Oh boy. I can take out a gallbladder. Does that count?
That is a very good superpower. But I'm not sure how that helps you eradicate polio. I'm not sure how that helps you stem climate change or reverse climate change.
Yeah.
What are the things, what's the characteristic that has empowered you to be so effective in changing the world as an activist?
One thing I would like to say, and I'm going to guess it was Harry Truman, but there are lots of people that this saying's been attributed to. But and that's it's amazing what you can get done when you don't care who gets credit for it. And when I was younger, I just didn't get that. And as I get older, it's like, of course, and it's like, who cares, who gets credit. And when you elevate people around you, then everybody gets elevated. It feeds on itself. When you're around a group that are backstabbing each other and worried about who gets credit, nothing gets done. Whereas if people feed off of good vibes, and when you can share that, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. Well, Scott, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. You've done so much amazing work. I wonder, how would you want people to go about learning more about citizens climate education, citizens climate lobby, Rotary? How do you want people to connect with you?
Yeah. Well, you can certainly, share my email address, Leckman@xmission.com, Rotary.org. If you're in Utah, UtahRotary.org. Results, which is an advocacy group working on ending poverty. We teach people how to use their voice to help change policies that make poverty persist. So results.org, citizensclimatelobby.org. So, I think, joining these groups as you're going to, like everything I've found, I get more out of it than I really put into it. My life is so much different than that first results meeting I went to back in 1985. I would never have guessed that I would be here today.
Wow. Well, Scott, thank you for taking the time to be with us. Thank you for sharing your messages. Thank you for all the good you do in the world. We wish you every success in ending poverty, ending homelessness, ending disease and polio especially, and ending and reversing climate change. We wish you a lot of success in all that you're doing. So thank you very much for being with us.
Now, was that 7 hours?
We could go another 6.5, I'm assure you.
To your listeners, yes.
Thank you, Scott. Let's do some.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
At Caring Crowd, we believe everyone has the power to make a difference. Through our crowdfunding platform for community health, we empower passionate people to drive real change. Whether you work for a nonprofit organization, volunteer, or want to get involved for the first time, you can post a campaign on Caring Crowd. Join us, because caring is where change begins.
Thanks for tuning in to the Your Mark on the World show, the Social Impact Podcast. Please subscribe via YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or Spotify.